Okay, we are live, I believe. Hi, this is a special video for the girls that were on the Hangout last night, our Tuesday night live. We were talking about a coaching situation with the bookings that Cynthia had. Cynthia said that she was calling leads from her bridal leads, and she wasn't too excited about calling them because they were going to say no. She just figured they were going to say no. And I was talking to Sue this morning, and she reminded me it would be a perfect opportunity for what we call the trigger cycle. So I want you to grab a piece of paper real quick, because I'm going to have you write down the trigger cycle, and then Sue and I are going to role play a coaching situation doing exactly the topic that we had last night, and it'll just take a few minutes. So I want you to say hi to Sue Hoy. She's you all know
Hi,
Sue.
gals.
Yeah. So thank you, Sue, for doing this on the spur of the moment. And so if you have your paper and pencil, I'm just going to have you jot down these things. Sue's going to tell you what these mean, and then we're going to do it. So hold on while I get the screen share going, and then we're going to let Sue talk about each thing. Okay, can you see it?
Great. I can see it.
All right.
Okay, so this is, you want me to start with this now?
Yeah, yes, do.
Okay, this trigger cycle I just absolutely love, because you all know when you get in the gut feeling of something doesn't feel right. So we're just going to go with, for instance, now I want you to look on the right hand side of that. It says the inner game, and that means what's going on in your head. On the left-hand side, that's the outer game, and that's what's going on outside, what you're actually doing. So when you have something that triggers you, then you start around on the right-hand side of the circle, and you go with your core beliefs, the identity, then your thoughts, then your emotions, and then you go into action, E-card, results, and then back up. So we're going to do that with what Cynthia was talking about don't like to do her calls because she thinks that she's going to get no's. So Donna, are we ready to play? And then I'll show them how to do the reverse of that.
Yes. Okay, so I'm back now. We've taken down that chart. Hopefully you got it. We can put it back up at the end if you didn't get all the words. But I'm going to get my little trigger cycle here right in front of me. Okay, Sue, go ahead. Sue's my coach.
Okay, so Cynthia, tell me now, what is it about this calls? You said something about the phone calls, you get these names and you don't want to make the calls. Is that correct?
Right, because I've made some calls already, and these were from bridal leads, and I've made some calls and they didn't answer the phone, or they said no. And so then what I started doing was texting them, because I wanted a response. I thought, okay, they're young, maybe texting would work, but they're not even responding to that. So I'm not too excited about doing the rest of the leads, because nothing's happening.
Right. Okay, so your core belief about that whole situation would be what?
They're not gonna respond. They're not gonna. Probably my core belief is that they're not gonna say yeah. They're gonna say no.
Okay.
Would that be right?
Yeah, that would be right. So you already have it in your head that it's kind of a waste of time because you believe that this is not going to produce anything for you. So on the rest of that, then you already believe that. So what would your thoughts be? What would your thoughts be that this is not going to produce? And so what else? What other thought? Could you have another thought about that?
It's a waste of time.
Waste of time, okay. So your emotions evolving that would be what? How do you feel? How would your emotions feel on the inside of your head?
I get discouraged.
Yeah, that's right. And so you're going to try to do the action. So what would be the actions that you would be trying to do?
I'd be trying to call them, but I figured they're going to say no.
Okay, and you already figured that. So then your E-card, and that is your energy card. So if you're making phone calls and your energy around those phone calls would be what?
Probably not very positive, because my experience is they're going to say no.
Right. So your energy would be kind of negative, and kind of before you even pick up the phone, your energy that you're putting out there is, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to get any results from this. Okay. So that moves right up to the results, which is I'm not going to get any, right?
And that's the truth. I don't get any.
Okay, all right. This is the fun part. So we're going to reverse this, and this is what I like to do even with myself. I do this on a daily basis with myself if something is not going right, and I think, you know what do I want my results to be? Okay, so the trigger event is I got to make these calls. They're not going to answer. If they do, they're going to say no. So what would be the result you would like to have?
Well, I would love to have them all answer the phone and all be excited that I called and say yes to a booking.
Okay, so your results would be great happenings, your bookings, they would be saying yes and all that. So if you back that down, now how would your e-card be? If you had that results, how would your e-card be with your energy that you'd be putting out when you're making those phone calls?
Well, I'd be a lot more excited and enthusiastic.
Okay, can you feel the difference in when we went around the circle the other time on the energy that you feel inside already?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So then you're backing down again. Now what is the action that you're going to take? You want
Well,
these results?
I'm going to call them, right?
Okay, with what kind of energy?
With excitement and enthusiasm this time.
Okay, and your emotions about that would be, how would you feel emotionally?
Excited.
Excited. Your emotions
Happy.
would be happy. You couldn't wait to make those calls, right?
Right.
And your thoughts about those people that you're going to call, what would you be thinking about them?
That they are glad that I called and they're going to be my friends and they're going to buy lots of product and it's going to be fun.
That is exciting. Isn't that exciting? Could you just, it's a waste of time to sit here. We've got to get out and make these phone calls because we're so excited about doing this, right? Right?
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
So then what would your core belief be if you went and did these events and your core belief about these people that you're going to pick up, what would your core belief be then?
My core belief, if all that worked out, my core belief would be that this is easy and that people say yes.
And you have something special to offer them and you can't wait to get out there. Okay,
right.
So you see how the cycle works so that, you know, you can cycle down. I always refer to it as cycling down into a hole or cycling up. And I want to cycle up. And so it's always good to find out what it is that's triggering you and think about that and get your thoughts, your core belief, and your emotions about it, and then reverse it. What would I like to happen if I really wanted these things to be positive for me in my life?
Okay. Sue, you're so good at that. She did that with another thing that she asked me why I was doing something. I can't remember, but she knew it was a trigger for me, a negative trigger, and so she walked me through the trigger cycle, and it was all negative, and then she reversed it and went backwards. And I can't remember what our topic was, but it was very emotional. And sometimes, isn't it true, Sue, that sometimes when we really get down to our core belief, it can be very emotional?
Yes, tears are a very good factor in what you're actually hitting a sore spot. And so if you do get emotional about things and you hear the crack in your voice, or you think, you know, this is just too much to this, and then that's very important that you do that. I do have to do this thing, and it's not something you do once, I want to say. When I want to make phone calls, and, you know, if something that's not my favorite thing to do, after 38 years, I still get in that mood. I have to talk to myself about it. And when I go the reverse cycle and think, these people are waiting for me to call them. You know, I'm not bothering them. I have something to offer. My energy builds up. I make those phone calls, and it works every time. But it's not something you have to just do once. You have to do it on several occasions.
Okay. Well, Sue, while if you have any other thoughts, I'm going to put that trigger cycle sheet back up so people can see it if they didn't get them all written down. It's very important to know that trigger cycle. And do you have any final thoughts on it? I just knew that you'd be able to go through this with the thing that we were doing last night, and I couldn't remember. I didn't know how to carry it through.
Well, we're all learning, and you know, we didn't get this way in our life 70-some years of knowing how to do it. So we're all learning, and that's the good thing about it, is we can learn, and we can still learn. And so just the most important things that they can do is to be aware of when you get this feelings of anxiousness, or I wanted to go do something else rather than doing that, or whatever. That's a trigger, and so you just want to become aware of all those kind of little things, and it'll happen a lot. So becoming aware is the first step.
Okay, Sue, you just said something that made me aware of something. Last night I had told them that 5 minutes before my show time, or before we were supposed to be live on the call, I had done something, and I'd unplugged a cord to my wireless router, and I lost my internet. And when I plugged it into a different plug-in, I just thought it would just light right back up and everything would work. And I had no lights on my router. I had zero internet. And I began to freak out because these girls were going to be on in 5 minutes, and I had no internet to even start the call or anything. And so Bill was trying to help me and all that. So my trigger was, I'm going to let these people down. I'm not going to do what I said I would do, which was to be on at 7:15, and it would be a disappointment. And so I told them that I was doing every negative thing that is on my DISC, and it was, you know, how Deb Erickson always tells us, our weaknesses will come to the forefront when we're under stress. And they were just shining brightly last night as I was freaking out that I had absolutely zero internet. And so
I was going to say, I could call me back later and we'll go through the trigger.
Well, no, I thought we ought to do that right now. Okay. I thought that would be good to do. It's a perfect trigger event. So let's practice it again.
Okay. So your thing that you're the best at, computer, failed you.
Yeah, I failed it.
Well,
I unplugged it.
Yeah, I know, but your brain did something, okay. And why do you think it did that? I mean, your core belief is that I am the best, right? I want to do this for my girls. They're counting on me, and this is a computer, and I know how to do this computer stuff, right? So is that your core belief? Or
I think my core belief is not so much that I am really good at the computer thing. I think my core belief in that moment was, I don't ever want to let somebody down.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on that? I mean, why do you have those kind of thoughts, you think? Where does that come from?
You know, I don't know where that comes from. That's probably one of those things that delves deep down into childhood that, you know, I don't want to let anybody down.
Okay, well, I see some emotion coming up. And that might be something you might want to pat on your pillow when you go to sleep at night and say, why do I feel this way, that I don't want to let someone down? You let someone down, or someone let you down that was very important to you in your childhood, probably. And so your emotion is very much tied into that, okay? So, you know, if you were going to go on the outer side, then their actions were you were panicking, right?
Right. I was panicking.
Last night you were panicking?
Yes.
And your energy that you were giving out was frazzlement?
Oh, I was just totally freaking out and yelling at Bill, and you know, it was not good. It wasn't pretty.
It was not a good situation, no. But the results came good, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, it came back. You know, well, I had to plug in, you know, one of these things.
Yeah.
Because Bill had been pulling on the cords, and I realized that this thing and the thing that comes in the other end that goes into the plug-in was not plugged in. Now, I don't think when I moved, you know, the plug-in from one plug-in to the other, that undid this, but maybe it was not in there very carefully, and maybe it did. Maybe that's what it was all along, but it was as simple as plugging this thing back in. So I have no idea what happened, but we got internet in time.
In this situation, that's not important.
Right.
In this situation, you want to go back to the emotional part of that whole thing and kind of think about that yourself, to see if you can figure out where those emotions of letting people down or someone let you down is coming from. And I think that you know, and then you can go through, is that serving me now if I have that strong of emotion that I'm going to let someone down, or is that something that happened before and now I can move on to that?
Right.
You forgive yourself or forgive whoever it was, and then move on from there. Okay.
All right. Isn't she good? Yay. Thank you. So anyway, I just wanted to follow up with that from last night. and I knew Sue would be great at it. So
it is good. That's a lot of fun. Anytime anybody has something, I'm good at this circle, this reverse circling thing. I got this down pat.
Okay, we're learning all sorts of different tools and techniques. And last night, Sue, we did the power of 3,
Great.
although I had to kind of explain it so it wasn't just the real quickie little power of 3. And but I'm trying to incorporate some of those and teach some of those girls some of those things that we're learning. So
well,
anyway.
Thank you very much for your time, and we're all going to get better.
All right, thanks. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.